to Quall's perspective. Victor, Quark, the handful of clan who were dotted around the perches, and my clan mother's bodyguards leave the room, and the ancient woman hops from her perch. "Walk with me, dear girl," she invites. "Of course, great-grandmother," I answer, following as she leads the way in the direction of the matriarchal apartments. We walk in silence down the colonnade, a view of the city to our right. I don't allow any of my apprehension to show at being secluded with the most powerful Raquali woman that there is. I try not to, at least. The colonnade opens out to an expansive, circular balcony garden. My ancestor still leading the way, we cross through the center of the space and come to a spot at the edge. We stand, silently, looking out at the breathtaking view for some long moments. I take a deep inhale of the nostalgically scented air of my homeworld. Much as I love my ship, my crew, my friends, my family, and my life among the stars, it's difficult not to miss home sometimes. "So, dear girl," starts the grey-feathered woman, "you are a mother now. You're somewhat young, but I don't disapprove. We do need our population rebuilt after losing so many to the war, after all." "I'm not that much younger than you were when you had your first chick, great-grandmother," I answer. She gives a brief chitter before answering, "I suppose you aren't." I say nothing as she continues. "I do wish I could have found a male of slightly higher pedigree to give you than that colony boy. It was unfortunate that when all the suitable males from clans Raqual found out where they would have to go, they all declined." "With due respect, great-grandmother," I say, not letting my irritation into my voice. "You may have hired Quark for me, but you did not give him to me. Quark and I life-bonded because we fell in love with each other. His status as the son of a clan mother has no bearing on my decision." The ancient woman turns her head to look at me, an amused expression on her face. "I have always liked your candor, dear girl. You're one of the only women in centuries with whom I felt able to have a frank discussion. You're not afraid of challenging me. You're not afraid to tell me when you think I'm wrong. Admirable qualities. One day, when you're somewhat older and wiser, you may make a worthy successor." "You flatter me, great-grandmother," I answer, not letting it be known just how unappealing I find the prospect of taking over her position. A few moments of silence follow before she says, "Speaking of challenging me, I hear you met that clanless girl my son is infatuated with." I stare, aghast, a few moments before starting, "How did you—" "Come now, dear girl," she interrupts. "Do you think I want a repeat of what happened all those years ago? Do you think I would allow my son to once again be taken away and used as leverage against me? Do you think I wish to have to engage the services of that Terran of yours for a second time? Takar has a permanent security towel since you returned him to me. He has watched everywhere he goes. I've known about that restaurant girl since he started frequenting her place of work." She sighs heavily. "That boy used to have some ambition. He used to talk about finding a woman who was worthy of him. I thought I would be able to find him a match from Clan Redcliffe or Clan Great Plains. He spends a few weeks in the company of that Deathwalder, and comes back calling the clan structure arbitrary, and saying he wants to bond for love, regardless of status." She turns to look down on me, her disapproving face looking exhausted. "My one hope was that that girl would be sufficiently aware of her place, or that my son would not be able to summon enough courage for either of them to reveal themselves to the other. Then you and that Terran managed to dash that hope over the duration of a lavatory visit." Since I've done nothing wrong, I don't apologize. Instead, I ask, What will you do, great-grandmother? I shall do everything in my power to convince them of the inappropriateness of the match. Surely one of them will see reason. And when that fails, great-grandmother? I ask, amused. If I can make neither of them see sense, then I shall give that girl a position of high enough status as to not disgrace my son, but where her incompetence will be limited in how much damage it can inflict on my clan. I sigh. I'm sorry, Quorqui. It's better than execution, at least. Now, dear girl, says my ancestor, her tone suggesting she has wearied of my unapologetic attitude regarding the discussion I had with Quorqui, and so is changing the subject. You are going to a new death world that might bear sentience, aren't you? I tense and start. I can neither confirm, Girl, I am one of the most influential women in the entire galaxy. You think I didn't know of this planet before you did? Your non-disclosure agreement is not relevant here. She gestures around to demonstrate that we are alone before continuing. I am against it. I think a valuable woman like you oughtn't to be putting herself in danger by being in your line of work in the first place, but especially going to a planet with intelligent Deathworlders. There's absolutely no guarantee that we will be lucky a second time. You mean these Deathworlders may be savage brutes? I ask. That's exactly what I mean, she says, irritated. The Terrans have thus far shown themselves to be capable of properly comporting themselves in wider galactic society, so long as they are not provoked. But, knowing what you do about their history, you surely understand just how untrue that would have been of them for most of it. These new Deathworlders are a single planetary species, who don't even seem to have mastered radio transmissions yet. Sending you to this planet is the last thing I want to do. I say nothing. She sighs. But I can see that I won't change your mind about this. You are strong-willed, just like your mother. Too proud to listen to an old woman's wisdom. She pauses here, and looks me up and down, her expression bittersweet. However, convincing you to drop this contract is not the only thing I am able to do to aid your safety, girl. I have made use of my political influence to have one of your clan sisters installed on this mission as the compliance officer. Hopefully she should be able to keep you and your crew from acting too carelessly. My heart sinks as I ask, who? Quark, 15th daughter of HFY Peak, she answers, naming the woman glaring at me. Quark and Victor, throughout Takak's clan induction. Great-grandmother, I begin, my tone pleading. This is not a discussion, girl. The replacement is a fait accompli. I hope that her prudence may temper your recklessness, she says, finality in her tone. Very well, great-grandmother, I say, resigned. Good, she says, satisfied, before turning to me and saying, One final thing I wish to ask of you, dear girl. When you leave, I want you to leave your daughter here, on Raqual. I refuse, I say instantly. To Qual, she pleads. Please listen to me. That child deserves to grow up among her own kind. She needs to be with other children her own age. She oughtn't to be on a ship that's entire business model is built around traveling to the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. Please let that child grow up here, where she belongs. Please don't make me have to mourn the end of your family's line if something should happen to that ship of yours. She belongs with her mother and father. She will have children her own age to grow up with, though they won't be Raquali. Korok and I will teach her all about her heritage and her clan. Nothing will happen to her, to me, or my ship. I am not going to leave her in the care of HFY boarding school, only to come back in 16 years and find a young woman who sees me as a stranger. That I am told is my daughter. My answer is no, clan mother. I respond, angrily. She frowns. Please don't address me as clam-mother like that, dear girl. I'm not suggesting this out of spite. I know you aren't, great-grandmother, I say, my tone softened. You are suggesting it because you truly believe it's what's in her best interests. Then, she starts, hopefully. Regardless, my answer remains the same, great-grandmother. I respond, finally. Wearily, she says, So much like your mother. I miss her dearly. So do I, great-grandmother, I answer sorrowfully. All right, dear girl. I am taking your assertion that nothing will happen to your ship, to you, or to your daughter as an oath, sworn before a clam-mother. Do we understand each other? She quips. I chitter. I shall not die an oath-breaker, great-grandmother.